There we
we on
go.
the
We're
motherfucking
live.
air?
Just in time for James to start poking at his camera.
I'll poke at you.
Hey, everybody. I don't know if we actually have any listeners, but this will eventually go live. Oh, there's one person waiting. It might just be me. It's me. That's okay.
Moyer!
Did you just say hi to yourself?
Yeah. We don't have anyone watching right now, but we'll probably post this to our podcast or our Patreon later on, which, by the way, you can visit at www.patreon.com/Ragnarok and back us if you like.
If we're not posting this, you sound really silly right now.
Yeah, well, we are going to be posting it. Oh, good email. Okay. All right. So we're going to generate an enclave for red markets. What were you going to say, Ryan?
I was going to say, I'm going to spam our social media, see if anybody's online and wants to
Well, I just posted to Facebook. I check because I think we have it set so that YouTube automatically sends out a message to Facebook when we go live. I don't know if that happened this time.
Let's see.
Oh, Ryan's watching our stream.
Yep.
Sounds like somebody's peeing.
No, I was just pouring water into my dog's bowl.
Ed's peeing in a cup.
I had that thought as I was pouring the water into the dog's bowl. I'm like, they're going to think I'm peeing.
Well, I mean, you turned your camera off, so you can't prove that you're not. All right, so for red markets, you guys have to, or we have to work together to generate an enclave. So basically, an enclave is a small bastion of civilization of people who came together after the crash to survive. So when the crash happened, the federal government retreated east of the Mississippi and put up a wall, and everyone to the west was left for dead.
Who paid for it?
Who paid for what?
The wall.
The government. Well, the wall is mostly the Mississippi River, because
so Mississippi pays for it.
Well, the Mississippi River runs through many states. The federal government paid for the wall. Mexico did not. But it is not a big, beautiful wall with a big, beautiful door and solar panels and clear things so you can see when people throw drugs over. It's a big, ugly wall.
Like Eric?
So you guys are on the other side of that wall. You're on the west side. So there's still stuff left. There's still people living here, but they're spread out. There's lots of dead space in between. So the first question, we'll name the enclave last once we know what it is. But the first question the first thing we have to figure out is what is the physical location? Like, where is this place located?
That is great, Ed. Thank you.
It just has to be west of the Mississippi, correct?
Yes.
West Philadelphia. I was born and raised on the playground. That's where I spent most of my days.
That's east of the Mississippi.
Yes. West Philadelphia is east of the Mississippi.
Did California sink into the ocean yet?
No, but California burned to the ground. There's not much left. We could do California if you want. That would make for some interesting challenges. But yeah.
You want to be in a wildfire scrubbed wasteland.
Basically. Yeah. You just have to be west of the Mississippi.
Salt Lake City.
We could do Salt Lake. Generally, you want to stay out of cities because dense population centers have lots and lots of zombies. But if you wanted to be in Salt Lake City, we could do that. We could be near Salt Lake City.
Ed, didn't you read the zombie survival guide?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's not to say you can't. But
all right, I'm gonna Google suburbs of Salt Lake City.
So I'm rocking the suburbs.
Omaha.
Colorado.
Omaha, again, is like a city. I mean,
All
not a
of
huge
Colorado. The whole state.
That's a little big for an enclave. Usually an enclave is like a big store or a block or two. A whole state is a little big.
Oh shit! I found this article called "The 10 Best
The United
Suburbs."
States of America.
You were saying?
Yeah, I found this article called "The 10 Best Suburbs of Salt Lake City to Live in," and the number 2 entry is Bountiful.
There's Twin Peaks National Park.
Draper, Holiday.
Bountiful,
Well, okay,
Utah.
so,
I kind of like
here's
that.
the thing. If we want to just say the Salt Lake City area, that's good. And then we could try to figure out a more specific location. Because the other thing, it doesn't have to be. Well, it's up to us if we want to make it an exact place or leave the geography vague and just say like Salt Lake City area. Like outside of Salt Lake City is where the Enclave is located. Yeah.
I'm good either way. What do you guys think?
I
I like James's hat.
like my hat too.
I like Bountiful, Utah.
Bountiful, Utah.
Why Utah?
Oh God!
Well, that's.
I just googled Google Maps Bountiful, Utah, and the first thing that came up was a picture of one of those gigantic Mormon temples.
Yeah.
So, what if our enclave is inside of an abandoned Mormon temple?
That I can do that. I can do
That's interesting. Okay.
that. I can live with that.
Utah inside.
It's named Bountiful because Bountiful is the name of the city in the Book of Mormon.
So we're in the giant Bountiful, Utah Mormon temple.
So if you are in that area, you're basically right next to a giant national park, which could work in your favor because there are fewer zombies in national parks because there were fewer people there.
The Bountiful Utah Temple.
Okay,
Well,
so the church.
Are we going with that? That was just my suggestion.
No,
I like it.
I'm okay with that.
I think.
I actually really like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Apparently, Ted Bundy snatched one of his victims from Viewmont High School in Bountiful.
Huh.
Oh, there you go. Some local history. Chris is coming in. All right, so Bountiful, Utah, inside the temple. So next question is, so other questions deal with the enclave's interior features, but the community surroundings are going to play a big role. Remember, geography determines economy. So let's take a look then. If we want to set it in Bountiful, Utah, do you guys have access to water? Are there any bodies of water nearby? Not too close. There's the Bay Waterfowl Management Area, but that's across an entire city. So water might be a little scarce for you guys.
Okay. Oh, the girl who played Marilyn on the Munsters was from Bountiful.
That's interesting.
What's the landscape like? Hills and rocks, flat plains, forests, mountains, urban. Well, we've got the national park right there that looks a little mountainy. I'm going to switch to a satellite view.
Yeah, I should do the same.
Yeah, definitely a mountainous area.
Yeah.
Mountain
Most
forests.
of the residential neighborhoods climb up the slopes of the mountains.
Yeah.
To the west
you guys
lies
hear
a
me?
flat land.
Yes, we can.
Good. All right.
To the west lies a flatland that extends to the Great Salt Lake and the mud flats and marshes that border it.
Yep. So you guys are really not that far from Salt Lake. And you are very much not far from Salt Lake City itself. So dead weather, which is what they call zombie migration movements, is probably going to be very important for your enclave because you're still basically in a big population center. Well, let's see. Bountiful, full Utah population.
The population is about 42,898.
I've got 44,000 as of 2016.
Oh, okay. This is as of 2012.
Yeah. So that's a decent population. Salt Lake.
Say how much of it got wiped out, though.
Most. Salt Lake City is 194,000. There's no definitive number of like how many people are left.
What it says is about 3,000 and 65.3 people per square mile.
Okay, that's dense. It's an urban area. So urban
Mostly
area.
White. 95.56% white.
Well,
Damn.
I mean, it's Salt Lake City.
It's not a surprise,
surprising.
but still.
So, Chris,
that's a high number.
The only thing you missed is that we decided the Enclave is inside, or the Enclave is a abandoned Mormon temple in Utah.
Okay.
It says most of the residents are Mormons.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we may or may not be Mormons.
That's totally up to you. Or you could no longer be Mormons. So that's the landscape. Is there arable soil outside the Enclave, or do crops need to be grown inside a fence? Is agriculture feasible at all? I don't know. I guess maybe in the mountain area you could grow some stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
probably like the mudflats, marshlands.
I'm looking at the
I
sat
don't
view
know.
of the temple grounds right now. Looks
It's
like
like
they
a big-
have. Yeah, it looks like I have an enormous
Like a big
parking
grass
lot.
area. And a big grass area.
Yeah, there's
Ooh,
there's
that
a
is a
flat
big
land
park.
in the west.
Yeah, well, the flatlands are adjacent to the Great Salt Lake, so I doubt anything's growing there. It's inundated by very salty water.
Eric's favorite water.
Yeah, I mean, it's not saying anything about agriculture, so
So we'll put that with the question mark. So what was population density like here before the crash? Yeah, we did that. Higher density means more survivors to feed or more casualties to eat them. Lower density means less danger, but more scarcity when it comes to scavenging. Okay, we did that. What's the climate like here? Cold, dry, hot, rainy? Are changes seasonal, or has climate change made fluctuations unpredictable? Salt Lake City, Utah climates. Let's see.
warm to hot, often humid summers, and cold, sometimes severely cold winters.
All right, so
Oh,
normal weather patterns.
It's Bountiful has a humid continental climate.
you got the best of both worlds there.
Yeah. So that's the main thing for the location. So the next thing is the defenses. So basically, the only
We've got to build the fences.
the only prerequisite for choosing an enclave is that there has to be some reason that people came here when they were being chased by zombies. So it has to kind of have. If it wouldn't be an enclave if it couldn't keep casualties out, especially back when they were sprinting, climbing vectors. What kind of defenses does this place have?
There's a hospital, and there's the temple.
Well, we're talking about the temple itself because that's where your enclave is, right? That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
It is the temple. So what does the temple have that's made it? Sorry,
Maybe
there's another.
people didn't know
It's-
I would say it's the structure of it, because it is a temple. The structure, it's structurally
Yeah.
sound. It's got good foundation. It'd be a lot to take it down. So
Right.
I would say that it's also a temple, so people would flock to it normally for safety, is also like an evacuation center or something. So it definitely has to. I feel like it's definitely like good for a disaster, like of all sorts of weather or something.
Yeah,
Well, I'm looking at pictures, and it
There's a
does
fence
have a
around
lot
it.
of windows on the ground floor.
there's a fence all the way
It's
around
also
it.
fairly steep terrain.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
not sure how strong the fence is, but the fence all the way around it.
Well, we could.
Well, yeah,
we could have.
a starting fence is something that could be reinforced too.
Yeah, I'm saying we could have definitely added on to the defenses, like watchtowers. Well, not like an actual watchtower, but like bird's nests or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it says that because of the steep terrain, it was one of the reasons it was built is because little could be done with the land as far as growing things. There wasn't a lot of water, and this terrain was steep. So I'm thinking maybe the steep terrain makes it harder for the casualties to.
Well, it would make it harder for casualties now to get up there because they're slow. But back during the crash, most of them were basically the way it works is the first stage of the infection. You're running 28 days later zombies for a few days, and then those zombies die and they grow a secondary nervous system, and they get back up as slow, shambling, regular Romero zombies. And when they're in the first stage, they're called vectors. They move inhumanly fast because they're the parts of their brains that say, I shouldn't run this fast because I'm going to tear every ligament in my legs, shut off. They don't care. They just move.
And then they tear.
So it would have slowed them down, but it probably wouldn't have stopped them. But the existing fence and the foundation of the building and the thick walls probably played a definite role.
The parking lot's like a double-decker parking lot.
Yeah. This is a good spot.
Any old random abandoned temple. I didn't think we were picking like a main one that you guys found online.
Well, I mean, it helps us. We could say, I mean, if it depends if we want to change the names and call it something else, but it's at least good to. Yeah, it's good to have. To have something to look at so we can say, this is what we're doing. This is what it is.
Okay, I'm just saying. I didn't know we were using an actual structure. I thought we were making one up.
I just like the name Bountiful. I think that's.
Yeah, no, I kind of like.
I like that one too.
Okay, so where the defense is natural, like an island, a mountain, or a peninsula, repurposed from some other building, such as a prison, a train yard, or a military base, hastily constructed during the crash, like an arrangement of shipping containers, a boat, or a ragtag flotilla of ships. So we talked about that. So how have the defenses been added to or altered since the crash? I'm assuming the fence has been reinforced.
Yeah, reinforced fence, guard towers, basic like barbed wire, all that fun stuff. Alarm bell.
It does have.
Well, you probably don't want an alarm bell.
No, not like an alarm bell that like goes off, but like something that if there's something outside, there's like a little bell that rings in the house, like something like
that rings inside. Okay.
Yeah. Not something that goes wow wow wow. It's something like a little bell that chimes that like now we all know to keep quiet and we know something's here.
What about if it's just a light?
Light could work too.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say that they do have an enormous parking lot, which would indicate a lot of cars. So maybe we've reinforced the fence with cars.
Mm-hmm.
If there were some there during the crash, yeah. Reinforced fence. There's a bunch of cars pushed up in places against the fence.
Yeah, the fence is wrought iron, but it looks like it would fall over in a stiff wind. So.
Yeah. But it's a good start.
Yeah.
And it goes.
We could always embellish.
That's a pretty good track of property.
Yeah. We could always embellish a little bit and say that the fence was a little bit sturdier in our version of the Temple of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah, we can. Okay. Does anyone keep watch on the walls, or are the defenses strong enough that they take care of themselves?
I would say there's watchmen. There's shifts for watchmen.
Mm-hmm.
At the gates, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks
like there's lots of.
So I'm reading this article about how the church there's a a statue of Moroni at the top of the temple, and it's got a copper. It's a golden statue with a copper rod in it. And throughout the temple, they have grounding cables to sort of like if there's a
lightning
storm,
strike.
if there's a lightning strike, it like directs the current. Maybe we utilize that somehow.
That's definitely possible.
Yeah, so like it like gives the fence power, like so it makes an electric fence, or like.
Well, I don't know. It wouldn't be a permanent thing because
it's only
lightning strikes.
Yeah.
But it's definitely that could be something we talk about in other sections.
Unless can we say something like because of whatever happened, there's always a storm going on?
No, there wouldn't always be a storm. They could be frequent, but there wouldn't just be always storming.
Maybe it's frequent storms, and that's how we juice ourselves.
Well, you could do the. I don't know how you would harness lightning because that's a lot of electricity, like more than any capacitors could hold. You've got. I mean, as far as electricity, you've got a huge flat roof and a giant parking lot. Solar power is definitely viable for you guys.
We could. This is supposed to be like a next Sunday AD type of game, so maybe the Mormons got eco-conscious and they replaced the whole parking lot and the roof with solar panels.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about that. That would be like export areas. So, is there some kind of? I guess the one thing we didn't talk about is what's the population like? The biggest enclave in the Lost is Distributy, which is basically a giant repurposed Amazon warehouse, and that's got a population of a few thousand. So most enclaves are a few hundred at max. So you have to think you're living in one building and a parking lot. So how many people do you think live here? I would say maybe 100 tops, 150. But
I was going to say small town status, like, everyone's got their little job.
What'd you say? I missed that.
I said I was thinking like more of like a small town status, like, like old frontier time, small town, like maybe 75 people at most.
Yeah, that's definitely doable.
That's what I was thinking. If you guys have any other suggestions, I mean,
I think we could only support like at max 100 people in that kind of a situation.
Yeah. You want to say 75 to 100?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Just so we know what kind of numbers we're talking about. And so, is there some sort of enclave police force or militia?
Yeah, me.
Well, then you can't go on jobs because you would be the police chief. So that wouldn't really work.
I would like to think that we're more of like on an honor system. Like there is like somebody we look up to as a leader, but he doesn't dictate himself as a leader. You know what I mean? But he kind of keeps the rule.
He's like the master of arms.
Well, how much do you want to play up to the Mormonism? It could be the priest who was here before. It could be a spiritual leader. This could be a theocracy. We'll get to the government. So there's no like official police structure, is what you're saying.
I don't want to say it's totally chaotic, but I would like to say that we're basically on an honor system. I believe like we wouldn't have a group of people that would cause too many issues.
Okay.
I mean that again. That's my thoughts.
Okay. And the last question for this part: how do people bypass the defenses? If it's a gate, how do they distract, hurt, or kill the casualties walking outside? A system of airlocks and checkpoints. If it's a secret entrance, how is it kept secret? So we said there is the gate. Well, there is the fence, and it has multiple gates in it. But we could say, for our purposes, that what gate?
What gate?
What gate?
That there's just gate 6. But so how? If someone has to leave, what do they do? Because there will be casualties outside the gates. So how does someone get out if they have to leave?
You guys want to say we dug a tunnel to a secret entrance somewhere a little bit of ways?
Well, if there's not like a huge police force and not too much like in the way of rule, maybe they just let you leave if you want.
No, it's not like you need permission to go, but if they just open the gate, zombies are going to come in, which is bad.
It could just be,
or you'll at least get devoured as soon as you step out.
Right.
Delicious devouring. I got you.
So how do you safely enter and exit the Enclave?
You can make the gates like airlocks, just 2 portals.
Yeah.
You probably want to do more than
one
that,
option.
but that's probably something they should do.
I mean, James, you were talking about a tunnel.
Yeah, I was thinking secret tunnel entrance.
What if there's a like you open one car door, you get in the car, and then you get out the other side?
That's not exactly. I mean, that works for a person, but if you have to move goods, that's not exactly going to work.
It looks like
you pass it over the car if you have goods.
What if there's a
what if it's a bus?
Like a trailer, like from a tractor trailer sort of thing.
Okay.
Or a bus, or like a bigger, and you just open one end.
Yeah,
I feel like the tractor trailer would be kind of flimsy against a horde of zombies.
I mean, the other thing you could do is just say that like someone goes 100 feet down the fence and makes a big noise to draw all the casualties over there, and then you guys slip out.
Here we go with the distraction method. We have a dummy system. We have something that pops up a little bit of ways away and makes a lot of noise. It's not a real person. It's like a dummy, like a scarecrow,
like a reverse scarecrow.
Yes, a lure.
Every time we want to leave, we just throw somebody out.
All right, everyone draw straws.
We could have repurposed the sound system from inside the temple along the perimeter of the fence, so that if someone needs to leave or come in, we use that to create a noise, and like on the other side of the fence. Or
I have this vision of of angelic organ music playing to draw all the casualties in. Well, you guys, every time someone has to leave your Enclave.
I love it.
What do the rest of you think?
Say that again.
I'm okay with that.
So Ryan's saying that you've repurposed the sound system, and it plays basically like angelic organ music in a different spot to draw the casualties over there, away from the main gate, so that way you guys can run out.
I only like it if we have an actual organ player. It's not like, player piano. There's someone that actually has to play the organ.
No, it's probably just going to be a recording.
I don't like it then.
I think I'm writing it down.
Expanding on James's tunnel idea a little bit, it looks like there's a lot of like suburban houses and stuff in the area. So what if we also had a tunnel as like an emergency escape that led to one of the cellars?
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
I'm okay with that.
Secret tunnel to nearby house. Okay. So that's the defenses. So now let's talk history. A lot of people hold up and survive the crash before dying of starvation, disease, and infighting in the years that followed. The enclaves that have made it this far did so by evolving. So, what was the first group of people to see this place as a chance for survival? Did they secure it by being smart, ruthless, or just first?
First.
I imagine it was founded by a bunch of Mormons who went to pray at the end of the day, when they thought...
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much probably why people came to the church.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It was probably a bunch of locals who were like, Jesus will save us. And then
when they realized
had
that Jesus wasn't going to save them, they had to do something else.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Who dropped out?
Meyer. You know,
Wait,
originally you said William, and then I thought it was
No.
Will joining.
I will re-invite him just in case.
I think he got back in. I think it just said
William joined the call.
Oh, no, there it is.
Hi, William.
Okay. Meyer, your mic was muted.
We heard him shouting through Alex's mic.
My mic? Oh.
What did he say?
He said,
He said,
what do you think he said?
What do you think he said?
Oh, I'm Meyer.
Okay. So the first people here were religious people who came to pray. And then they realized that prayer wasn't going to stop hordes of the undead. So what happened? What do they do?
They might not have actually realized that.
Well, eventually, people would have started dying.
They made some other plans.
Yeah,
They might still be praying.
Well, if they're still praying, it's 5 years later. So then they've been praying for 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
While other
maybe
people
they
have
see
moved
it as a huge test of their faith, you know, so they're obviously still holding on to their faith. But the more
that's
rational
fine.
people who think, all right, well, we also need to help ourselves, probably banded together to make the place survivable and livable.
Listen, the Lord helps those who help themselves.
That's totally true.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, I feel like while they were holed up in there, the town got ate up. And then they were like, oh, look, the town got ate up, but we're not it. So let's live here.
Okay. So now, did other groups come later, or has everyone been here since the crash?
I want to say majority has been there since the crash, but we have welcomed newcomers hesitantly, and they had to go through a series of, like, you know, I don't want to say tests, but
Probation.
yeah.
We ask every new member of the group 3 questions. No.
What is your name?
What is your favorite color?
I don't know that.
Okay, most people
What
in
is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
African or European.
What? I don't know that. Yeah. What is the capital of Syria?
After strict probationary. Okay. So now, where were these additional populations recruited to meet the needs of the Enclave, or were they desperate refugees that managed to insert themselves?
I feel like probably the second one.
Mostly refugees in need.
Yeah. I mean, as much as it's a cool spot, it's not really a great spot.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, mainly it's a religious landmark, and that people went there.
I mean, you're not too far from the Mormon temple, so.
Tabernacle.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, you guys aren't too far out of Salt Lake City. So if someone's like making a pilgrimage, they're probably going to go to the tabernacle. But not that they can't also come to you guys. But we said the population is somewhere between like 75 and 100. So it's probably not a huge influx of new people anyway.
No. Right. But what if,
and so,
if we do have a bunch of pilgrims passing through, you know, that's one of the ways that we survive is we like trade for food and stuff.
Yeah, that could be.
I was going to suggest that we definitely have people, like, there's like a caravan that goes from place to place that trades.
Well, what do we have?
Well, that's the next section is when we start talking about what you guys have and what you import, and then like who else is nearby. So we are going to get to that. We just have to finish up the history part first. And so the last section, our last question: what past conflicts between interior groups, and outside threats came to define how the Enclave operates today. So was there an internal power struggle between the spiritual and the practical? Was there an outside group that everyone had to band together against?
I kind of appreciate the conflict between the spiritual and the practical. That initial impulse of, we have to pray because Jesus will save us, and then people going, well, wait a second, there's zombies, and we need to shore up the fences with cars.
And
I'm in agreement with Ryan on that one. I was thinking the same thing. It's just like, well, this is a place of worship. God will save us. But then there's the people who think a little bit more rationally. It's like, he's not going to save us from the undead that are eating people.
Okay. And so how did that resolve, and how does that affect things now? Obviously, you all aren't still praying, and people weren't eaten by zombies, so it seems like the practical people came out on top.
Well, the practical people were the ones that actually did the work to protect the place, but I would feel that there are still the few that are like, they still pray hard. It's just they're like, this is a test of my faith, this is how I'm going to prove my faith, and they're still praying. But yet you have the more rational people who was a little bit more like, all right, yeah, we need to do this. We're not going to survive on prayer alone.
Okay. Does that work for you guys? So it sounds like there might be some friction between
I would say
prayerful
there is some tension, because there's the people that are the doing, and then there's the people that are the praying, and it's just it's a little bit of tension and friction, but nothing that actually escalates to more than maybe snide comments.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So next, we talk about your exports. So, no man is an island, and neither is his enclave. Total self-reliance is a myth. The enclaves that survive trade with each other. Determining what an enclave can afford to sell off is a great way to help the market generate ideas for jobs. So, what surpluses does your enclave have to trade?
Soul redemption. Duh.
That you could use spirituality or religion as some sort of export, but how would that work? Someone's buzzing.
Yeah, I think that might have been me. Working though. Nothing important.
What if we go with the pilgrim idea, and maybe we have like a preacher or some kind of a draw to bring people in?
We have plenty of booklets to give out. We have lots of those.
So that would be how we export spirituality. People come to us and they leave enlightened and fulfilled.
Well, I saved a priest, but I'm not sure he's a Mormon priest though.
We're not judgmental.
Well, that's up to you. Would you guys allow non-Mormon people into your enclave?
Well, they can come into the enclave, but they're not getting into heaven.
Well, okay.
No. I knew a Mormon guy. We went to heaven, but not at the good heaven, as good of heaven.
Not the good heaven that they go to. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to crappy heaven.
Yeah, we're going to crappy heaven.
Yeah.
Oh, is he the one that worked at GameStop with us? Yeah, I remember.
It's
like I
like
had so many questions for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Delta Airlines of heaven.
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. So, there's a big dam to stop flash flooding in the city.
Guys, I died.
That could be
I went to heaven.
for me.
Did you go to real heaven or crappy heaven? Crappy heaven.
Am I seriously the only
Doesn't
asshole
say. I'm trying to see if I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. So the site of the temple is 11 acres. That's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good amount.
Yeah, that's pretty sizable.
And 104,000 square feet of floor space in the building. That's pretty good. So I'm thinking. So exports. I'm just going to put spirituality / religion / salvation of some kind. We can sort of figure that out later too. So what else do you export? You have the mountains right there. Maybe you can mine stone or cut wood from the forests.
That's a good idea.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm about to say like wood, stone, and also maybe surfaces. Like like we need people to
Sexual.
go do this. Need help building this here.
Well, that's what jobs are for. It's still a capitalist economy. Um,
Yeah, so
But
like
there
we would be the people who would go out and get the wood and deliver it.
right. But people pay you for, or in exchange for stuff. So lumber and stone. Anything else? So we said that the temple has solar panels on it. Is that so? Electricity is still, for the most part, spotty. Not many places are like lit up all the time, 24/7, like they are today. So, do you guys generate enough power for your use, or do you happen to make excess power that you can sell?
I would think we would make excess because I don't think we would actually use a lot, but I'm pretty sure we get a lot more than what we generate more than what we actually use. I would think we have a little excess that we could sell. I mean, there's not so many of us, and we have a lot of anchors. I'm thinking anchors.
Acreage. Yeah.
Do we have anchors too?
Yes.
Okay, good.
All right. So
I'm back in.
excess electricity too.
We put it in a bottle and give it to people. It's like, here you go, extra electricity.
Okay.
No.
And is there any industry that you guys can do? Anything that you can make?
Like someone in the Enclave, or like one of our characters specifically?
The Enclave as a whole.
Yeah, okay.
Hang on. I have an idea, but it might require a little bit of research.
What's your idea?
He's got to do a little bit of research first before he.
Yeah, I gotta look.
How about we actually do put lightning in a bottle? We actually figured out how to do it.
No.
I'm entirely joking with that. I really. Okay.
I'm thinking that if you have lumber and stone, you can make simple tools and other like day-to-day items like wooden bowls and plates, spoons, stone tools. If people can't find metal ones.
Yeah, that works. My idea was kind of elaborate and weird. The University of Utah. The University of Utah is a big like computer science and electronics school.
Okay.
So I was thinking maybe we ended up with some refugees from the campus who knew a lot about electronics and could repair tech.
That sounds good. That sounds like something that would have to come to you. People would have to send you or bring you.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like another enclave in the community. Like maybe there's an enclave in the college.
Okay, so do we want to make that's actually in Salt Lake itself?
That sounds like a good idea, though. They support themselves via fixing tech and stuff. But we will get back to that. So we don't have a lot of stuff. So you export spirituality, lumber and stone, and your excess electricity.
Yes.
So now imports. Same premise, but what do you have a deficit of? So what does your enclave need to keep operating, or that the
Food.
Excuse me,
food
and water.
Food and fresh water.
Yeah, food
So
and
I would
water.
imagine
Because water,
with the-
there's not a lot. We have lots in salt water.
Yeah. So with the grounds, it looks like you might be able, since they have replaced the original grounds, the mountainside with flat grass. You might be able to grow some stuff, but it doesn't look like you have enough to support your entire enclave. So you definitely would have to supplement
our food stores.
your food and water.
Supplement. That's the.
So what about so one of the things, what forms of industry are made impossible by the necessary limitations of the defenses? So you don't have a lot of space to spread. You have those 11 acres, but that's basically it. And also, what skills and expertise are lacking in the population? So what can you guys not do for yourselves?
Fight.
I don't
Fight?
know. I'm a gunslinger, so
Well, we
fight.
can fight, but the majority of people can't.
So the
Okay.
majority of you, okay.
Yeah, I think that's
They're largely pacifist.
yeah.
Okay.
That works for my. I was going for sort of a merc gun for hire guy, so maybe like you guys let me live there, so I shoot things for you.
Okay.
I'm an import.
Well, that'll kind of go more towards social structure, but we'll get back to that.
We import violence.
An export peace and religion.
Yes, we do.
Okay. So next section is competition. So, zombie movies existed in the world of Red Mark before zombies actually came. Things got really bad, but a surprising amount of people knew how to survive. These groups condensed into enclaves in the following years, but most areas in the Lost can't support a full-blown metropolis. The smaller groups compete with each other for resources and bounty. When talking about competition for the enclave as a whole, we aren't talking about competing taker groups. Competing taker crews will come and go in any campaign, but local enclave competition remains a consistent concern. These competing enclaves use the same transportation routes and natural resources. They scavenge in the same ruins, but hold different beliefs and ideologies. Getting some ideas for competing enclaves down on paper should spark ideas for job lines and other serialized storylines. So, where have other groups settled in the area? When thinking about this question, remember your enclave's top import. Okay. Top imports and exports. Do these other communities feed your needs or worsen shortages? So we mentioned the college, right?
Yep. University of Utah.
And they have the University of Utah. So their enclave is built around tech repair. So if they're built around that, they're exporting mainly a service, and they're probably not producing much for themselves. So they're probably competing for the same food and water resources that you guys are. So who else is in the area?
I would like to think there's a competing church in the area that's trying to do the same thing we are.
Okay, another church.
Yeah, but they kind of made in their own, like they took one of the
The actual the tabernacle.
Yeah, but instead of sticking with the actual religion, they kind of adjusted it to fit the time.
Okay.
Ooh, they became an eschatological Mormon sect.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying the actual Mormon tabernacle is the home of a new sect of Mormons. Or are you the new sect of Mormons and they're purists?
No, I think they would be the new sect.
Well, because that's like the main home of Mormonism. So I would think that they might be, stay the course, and you guys have been...
We might be a new sect.
Fuck that, we need to adapt, otherwise we're
Yeah, I like that.
I like that that's a good storyline there. We're kind of what if we've blended Mormonism and like black math or something?
Okay. Black math for you guys, it's one of the cults in the game. It's kind of a religious cult, but their whole thing is kill every zombie. Like, that's the only way to survive, is to just kill every zombie.
I'm okay with that.
It's basically what their thing comes down to. So you guys practice some sort of Enclave has adapted.
Maybe they're trying to save the zombies, and we're like.
That's definitely that is another cult. There is a cult that believes Well, there's two different cults. One is the really extreme that believe, they're called the meek. They basically believe that zombies are good. It's like God's well, whatever their reason is, it's God's punishment. It's the next human evolution, whatever. They strive to turn as many people into zombies as possible before they eventually turn into casualties. Everybody hates the meek. Because the meek, M-E-E-K,
that makes
as
sense.
in the meek shall inherit the earth. Everybody hates them because they actively try to turn other people into casualties.
I think that's the tabernacle.
Well, the other group, I don't remember what they're called. They're not quite as extreme, but they're basically what's his name from The Walking Dead. They believe that the zombies are still people and that one day they will be cured. And so they don't kill them. They tend to herd them into places and keep them penned up because one day they will be cured.
But it is not this day.
Yeah,
Like a
and
ham.
it's not any day. So are you saying that does the tabernacle worship zombies, or do they believe that they are just sick people?
I kind of like them being the meek.
Sick people. I like sick people.
If there's a huge enclave of the meek that close to you, they would basically try to kill you every day.
Okay.
That's the only downside.
Then not that.
Yeah.
I
Like
do
they
like
would poison your water with zombie flesh so that you eat it and turn into zombies and do a whole bunch of terrible shit.
They would poison our water with flesh so that we ate it.
Or drink it.
What
They
kind
would
of
just
freak
try to
eats
infect
water?
us. They would be terrible people.
Yeah,
They're
they're bad
terrible
neighbors.
They want to put blight inside us. That's the long and
Yeah.
short of it.
That's not a very neighborly thing to do, by the way. Just
It is not.
for everyone else out there.
We could always like hedge our bets and say that maybe there are certain elements within the actual tabernacle that are meek leaning.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is something I think we could say for the game.
Okay.
So that's two. So we have the University of Utah, who's competing for your food and water resources, and the actual Mormon Tabernacle, which is competing for your spiritual resources.
What about the hospital?
Yeah, we could do that. Hospitals in red markets were actually not huge, terrible sites of infection because in the game, zombie movies exist, unlike any other zombie medium. So most people said, fuck, I'm not going to a hospital because that's where all the sick people are. So no one went to hospitals. So they're pretty empty during the crash. So someone could have definitely set up in the hospital. So they would, I assume they would be exporting medical care and supplies.
Yeah.
And probably, again, competing for your food and water resources.
Right.
So where is this food and water coming from?
I thought we were getting that imported.
Because you've got the Salt Lake not too far away, but the Salt
We don't
Lake.
ask.
Okay, so you don't. So someone just brings you food and water, and you don't ask them where they get it from.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
sounds
I mean, you would have some of your own, like you would collect rainwater and things like that. So you'd have some of your own water, but it's probably very strictly rationed.
They bring us food, and we're not really sure where it comes from. We
could say this is set in the future, so climate change has become a thing. So we could say that there is a nearby desalination
I don't know.
plant.
I'm skeptical about the science.
Well, you're a fucking idiot then. If you guys want, we could say that there is an enclave nearby that set up a desalination plant or took root in a desalination plant that was built on the Great Salt Lake, and they have the monopoly on water in the area.
I like that.
Okay.
It's a big
So
it's some asshole who calls himself Poseidon.
I love it. Run by Poseidon. So what do you want to name this place? Maybe like Poseidon's Bounty or Atlantis?
Atlantis, yeah.
Atlantis.
Okay. So if you do not appease the water gods, you guys do not get water. So these four are good. Do you want to name these ones now, or do you want me to name them?
Well, I feel like the tabernacle is just going to be the tabernacle.
Yeah, the tabernacle. We've got the University of Utah with the nerds and the hospital. I mean, we can come back to that if you guys think of something.
What is the hospital actually called?
I don't know. Where is the hospital? Bountiful Utah Hospital. Server error. Please try again later.
Oh. Is it a teaching hospital? Because it would be great if it was.
It says Lakeview.
Yeah, Lakeview Hospital.
We could just call it that, Lakeview.
The lake.
Oh, there's a hospice across the street. They've got a pharmacy right there. Assisted living. This is like a whole medical center. Yeah, it's across town from you guys. All right, we'll call it Lakeview for now until we can come up with something better.
And
all right.
The university, maybe like we could call it the campus or something.
Yeah. I feel like it should play up on their tech repair. I want to call them like Geek Squad or something. That's probably the Taker group is Geek Squad. Okay. So now let's go back to your enclave and talk about the social structure. So social structure is perhaps the most important part of enclave generation. Economy implies inequality. Inequality creates conflict, and conflict is the heart of the campaign. So look at the answers to the previous questions on this list. How have these answers stratified the culture, and how does that hierarchy perpetuate itself? How does your enclave govern itself? Is it a general democracy or some sort of representational compromise?
I mean, we're only like 100 people max, so we could have a direct democracy.
Yeah.
That has its own problems, but I kind of feel like that's the kind of thing that would make for an interesting storyline if like we have to convince even just like a simple majority of people to vote the way we want them to vote.
Do you guys want to go for direct democracy, and is that one? Or like every decision? No one else but Ryan is talking.
Every decision.
All right, so you guys want to do direct democracy?
Well, are we going with the priest thing? Do we have a?
I mean, that's up to you.
Are we a theocracy?
Well, I mean, if you wanted to do direct democracy, you could still have religious leaders. They would just have sway. So there would be a block of people who would just vote the way that the priest told them to vote. You know, you would have blocks of people. So if there was a game where you had to convince people, you wouldn't have to convince everyone. Convince the priest to tell his 20 people to vote this way, and that's a fifth of the vote. So that kind of goes into the follow-up questions. Well, does religion play a role in the Enclave's power structures? Is it traditional faith or one of the believer cults? Yeah. So we're going with direct democracy. Every decision has to be brought to a vote.
That sounds god-awful, but I love it.
So is it just any time something comes up, you have a vote, or is it like every Thursday is voting day where we vote on whatever we need to get done?
Hey guys, what should I have for dinner?
You're going to have to wait till Thursday for voting day. So is it every day there's a vote, or is it like once a week or once a month? Chris, how often should there be elections?
Like once every 72 years.
All right. Well, you guys got to start getting ready. So what do you want to do? Every day or once a week?
Probably.
Every day. Because it's probably every day we need to decide something.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You probably do, but that doesn't mean that people are smart enough to recognize that, and they might get tired of voting every day and have changed it to we're just going to vote once a week on everything. I'm not saying you're wrong, Meyer. I'm saying people are dumb. So,
Let's do it every third day.
Vote every third day?
Yeah.
Votes every
Even
third
days
day.
and odd days, like in middle school.
So are votes evens or odds then?
Odds.
All right. Votes only on odd numbered days.
Sorry, my phone died.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, has the Enclave always done things this way, or is the current system the result of some past struggle?
I missed the beginning, but I'm going to say past struggle.
It's a direct democracy. You look like you're sitting in a blackout, James.
I'm using my tablet, so I don't know how good the camera is on it.
Not very.
What are you eating, Cheyenne?
right.
Yeah, so have you guys always been a democracy like this, or is this the result of something else?
What if we started off as a theonomy?
A theonomy?
Yeah, where you live by the rule of God. So, like Gilead in The Handmaid's Tale.
Okay. And
you
how
just,
long did that last?
Probably not long.
Yeah,
that probably
I like
would have
that.
changed within like the first days or weeks of the crash.
Wow, 3 days at the first vote.
At the first vote.
We should live by God's law.
I vote we change that.
Seconded.
All right. So now let's talk about the physical layouts of the Enclave. So humans like clicks. Break them into tiny clicks and they immediately start making tinier clicks. Bounty will be the biggest separator, but that doesn't mean race, religion, politics, gender, language, and every other petty consideration won't be turned into dividing lines as well. So what are the major demographic zones of your Enclave? So we talked about a religious block. They still believe that prayer will save them. What about everyone else? Like, what other groups are there? Because people have to clear the fence. You need fencemen to do that. There have to be people who grow the food. It's a direct democracy, so everyone has a quote-unquote equal voice, but really they don't. So what sort of social groups exist in this enclave? Believers and non-believers, things like that.
I would say most people are believers.
I think
So
anyone
most-
who isn't a believer pretends they are.
Okay. So it seems like there's an oppressive religious culture here. Maybe oppressive is the wrong word, but
yeah, I think believers would be welcome, but it's just people that don't believe. They wouldn't be pushed away, but they suddenly find themselves leaving earlier than expected.
okay.
About a group of people who clean all the solar panels. Their job.
Yeah,
They're cleaning solar panels. They get along. What is this big group?
The people who do like the menial labor and stuff around the enclave.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically the solar panels. Isn't that where we get a lot of our money from? We want to make sure they're in top shape. Suppose they could repair them as well.
Yeah, got to keep those panels going. How many other taker groups are located in your enclave? I would imagine not too many others.
Right, probably at most one or two because we're kind of small.
So
yeah, not only that, like I thought we were mainly going to be the people that do the most fighting. Like I figured.
well, you're takers. So your job is what the way the game works is that you guys generally leave the enclave to take jobs for other people. Your motivation generally is you're sick, living. Ryan, I don't know what you're doing, but it's really, really loud.
Sorry.
Nobody's eating.
Yeah.
It's like a bag of chips.
No, it's not a bag of chips. I'm making lunch. Hang on, I'm putting everything away now.
Oh.
Making lunch. It's dark out.
I would assume for tomorrow.
I know.
So basically, you're fed up with living in the loss, and you're leaving the safety of the enclave to go take jobs doing really dangerous shit to make a lot of money. So basically, you could stay in the enclave and just get by, but eventually you'll just die in the loss, and you don't want to do that.
Nope, I can't.
So you're taking chances and taking high-paying but dangerous jobs to get you and your loved ones out of there. So do you and the other taker groups make up a block? Like, is there recognition between you guys? Like, you tend to vote for your interests, or do you guys fall into other groups?
I think us and the taker, anybody else who's a taker, like we all have that hidden understanding. You know, it's like that. It's like, this is not what we want. Like, we don't want to just get by.
Yeah.
I feel like we'd get along. We'd be like our own little clique, because we all have a basic understanding of each other.
Okay. I'm trying to think who else. Well, let's talk about this question. So, is there a rich neighborhood and a bad part of town, or living arrangements determined by occupation, political identification, or other signifiers of class? So you guys are in essentially one building, which was not designed for living in. So how do people live in your enclave?
Very comfortably. Or else. Now,
Women and men are separated.
Okay. What about married couples?
They're allowed.
Okay. So does everyone have? So maybe married couples have their own rooms for families.
Yeah.
And then there's like a big group dorm for men, and then a big group dorm for women.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds. And anybody,
I like that.
what is it when you're infected? What is that called again?
Latents.
Latent.
That's
I think
the next question.
Okay.
Yeah. So just hold on to that thought.
right.
Get rooms. Large dormitory for men, women that are kept. So, how is the separation enforced? Are there people watching, or is it just like a general "don't go over there" rule?
I don't want to say that there's people watching. I'm sure there's one or two people that would, like rat it out. But we don't really have like necessarily like a police force or like it. Again, it's like all like we all here on the same pretense, so we all kind of have like that honor, that honor bound thing.
Right. Okay.
So there will be people. I guess there are people that keep watch, but and like people there's not really a strict or really heavily enforced like punishment for
Right.
it.
So it's not like there's chaperones who are actively standing around, but you know that if Joe catches you, he's gonna tell on you.
Yeah, and it's
Social
basically
punishment. Like,
you'll be very shunned. It would be very like everyone will talk about you, and it just like it's like oh like if a guy did it like oh he's a pervert. A woman did it, she's like a harlot. Or
Right.
shit like that.
What were you saying,
Something.
Chris?
it's pretty much exactly what James just said.
Oh, okay. So social stigma. Okay. And so how does the Enclave quarantine latents? Are their sections comparable to what you guys have, or are they basically living in ghettos? So latents can't really mingle with everyone else because they are walking biohazards. So the first question is, does your Enclave even allow latents in?
I was gonna say yes, and I was gonna suggest that like we have 11 acres, a big parking lot and stuff. But I was gonna say there's like a big shed out, like not like a shed, but a big like living space made for them, but it's like kind of dingy out in like the parking lots or in the other parts of the.
So there's like a prefabricated metal structure,
Yeah.
or is it just like maybe if we want to be extra cruel, when the crash happened, there was some sort of festival or something going on or being planned for. So there's a big one of those big white tents in the parking lot, and that's where the latents are.
Yeah, I was thinking along those lines, like something that's because latents don't really aren't really bothered by the infected, right? So I mean, they're just
They're not bothered by zombies will still try to eat them. They just can't get infected.
Okay.
That's the only difference. I mean, they're still human. They still feel cold. They still feel pain. It's just if they get bit by a zombie, they don't get infected because they already are infected.
I would think since we're more of a religious group that we wouldn't completely be like, all right, fuck you guys, here's terrible conditions, but we're like, all right, you're people still, you have a people state of mind, but you are a hazard. You are a safety.
Well, to play devil's advocates, you guys are all Mormons, or at least pretending to be, and latents are well known for being all their veins are black. So you could make the argument that that is the mark of Cain, and therefore they are cursed.
I think that's a pretty good argument.
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's
So,
fuck us
it's up-
over,
I mean, it's
though,
up to you guys.
Don't we have a bunch of latents in our group?
Well, no one's made characters yet, so that's why I'm asking.
I was thinking about being a latent, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to live in the confines of the Enclave itself.
I was planning on my character to have a latent family member, so it's
Right. I mean, the other option is that they could be shunned. They are, most people, they're allowed, but they are bottom of the barrel, lower class, because not just because they're walking disease vectors, but because they are cursed.
Yeah,
they're marked.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're cursed, but we believe that people have redemption. There's still a chance for them to get to heaven. I was gonna say we don't see them as real people, I would say, but souls that need to be saved. I was thinking along the lines of. Again, that's what I was. But then again, that was like what my characters kind of be based off of, with because of what I have.
Right.
What if the late?
I mean, if you guys want to see it in a different direction, I can always change that up if I need to.
No, I mean, I really like the idea of you having a latent daughter. I'll tell you, you're not going to find a cure for it. That's not.
No, yeah, no, that's yeah.
What were you saying, Chris?
What if the latents and the solar panel washers are the same group?
So they use the latents to clean the solar panels?
Yes.
Yeah, could be. Well, here's the other question. If the latents are viewed as cursed and, not real people, do they get votes?
No.
Not at all.
Okay. And how many, so we got about 100 people. How many latents are in your enclave?
We're 75 to 100, so maybe 15 to 20 people, maybe.
So a fifth of your population.
I think it should be a pretty significant number.
Okay. Okay. So now let's talk about immune people.
Is that necessary?
Thank you for that great contribution, Ed. Are immunes allowed to walk free, or must they hide their diagnoses lest they be sold into medical slavery? So in the game, suppressin, which is the only drug that can stop an infection once you're bitten, but it turns you into a latent, is made from the bone marrow of immune people. So if the government finds out about it, they will take you and put you into, quote, voluntary medical programs, unquote, where you're strapped to a bed and have your marrow harvested for as long as they can keep you alive. If someone else in the loss finds an immune person, if they are not scrupulous, they can sell them for lots and lots of bounty. I think it's something like 30 bounty per hitbox that you harvest. So there are people who make their retirement by selling an immune person to the government. So are immune people safe in your enclave? Like, are they open about it, or do they keep it a secret because they're worried someone's going to sell them?
I think that we can trust each other enough that we can be open
Yeah, I
about
don't
it.
think we're
Don't
selling
talk
people
about it. It's like if you're immune, like it be known that you are, but it's not something like we'll discuss or anything. It's
right. Well, within your own group, whether or not you know that if someone's immune is up to you guys. But so in the enclave as a whole, it's not something that's hidden. Immunity, people know, but they don't go and talk about Immune Joe over there.
Yeah,
Immune
Right,
Joe.
We do have a bunch
It's
of...
pretty. He's not really hiding it very well with his name.
No.
He's a latent. It's ironic.
Good old Immune Joe.
Okay, and last question I have for you guys. What are the penalties for breaking the rules? So, we talked about if you cross over between, the male and female side, you'll be shunned. What if you're stealing food and water, or you kill someone? How does your enclave deal with that, or has it not come up yet, and so you don't know?
I would, because I was going to say minor rules, things that aren't really that terrible. Obviously it's just the shunning and but I was thinking along the lines of something big. I wouldn't think that something ever came of it that was an actual person there, but maybe a visitor. We pretty much just kick them out. Or there's if it's somebody that has been there since the beginning, I feel like we would come together and form some sort of what should we do about it? Have a committee about it.
Okay. So
I'm sorry. I was gonna say I kind of like that. Like for the minor infractions, it's just like social censure. Like people get shunned and ignored, or but then like for anything major, maybe we take it on a case by case basis since we don't really have any laws per se.
Right. So a tribunal is created when needed to deal with whatever happened.
We put it to we have like a massive trial, where everybody votes because we're a direct democracy.
So everyone votes, or do
here.
they appoint judges for the sake of the trial, or is it a trial in front of the entire enclave is on jury duty for this essentially?
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think like the entire group comes together and we decide as a group, as a unit, what to do about whatever. I mean, obviously it's hard to do, but I figure like all of us have been through this together. All of us have been through this, all of ourselves, and like as a community, like I feel like we're very close. So I would like to think that all of us, like it also being Mormon and a sect of Mormon, that we tend to have like an honor rule. Like it's.
I like it. I like that it's kind of fucked up because if you're popular enough, you could literally get away with murder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is pretty fucked up. I'm going to make a note of that so I don't forget. I'm sure that won't come up at all.
No.
Okay, so last section we have to talk about is VIPs. So at this point, there are a lot of different places for characters to interact with and alter the story, but who represents those places? Now it's time to provide the campaign with a cast of NPCs the takers can talk with. So who are the movers and shakers in the Enclave? Do they get to power through first come, through first serve, or have they elevated themselves through sheer force of will? So we talked that there's a priest somewhere. So are Mormons father, or is it reverend? It's probably reverend. Only Catholics are fathers. So who is the reverend that is the main religious leader?
I thought it was brothers. I thought they
There's two of them?
No, hold on, I'm thinking. I mean, I know they go by like elder. Like, it's like my name is Elder with Mormon.
What do Mormons call priests? I'm just going to Google it.
Looks like they call them priests.
Okay. Well, right, but Catholics call them father, Protestants call them reverend.
I think it's elder. I think it's like, oh, my name is Elder. My name is Elder Price or something. I think it's. I'm not sure if that's just like the underlings or it's. I don't know what the head honchos would be called. Oh no, it's been like 2 years since I've seen the Book of Mormon, so.
Yeah.
Has it been 2 years already?
What is the name of the... That's a bishop.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too, bishop.
Okay, we've got apostles.
I'm just going to stick with reverend for now, and I'll do some research later. I'm not going to forget what that means.
Okay.
So, but who is this guy? It's Mormon, so it's a guy. Do we want to do? He should probably have a bit of biblical name.
Mordecai.
Reverend Mordecai. Okay. And he is the spiritual leader. So who else is important in your enclave? We need like at least 2 more people.
Steven.
David.
Who are they and what do they do?
I think it's the president of the church. The president is assisted by 2 counselors.
Well, that's also could be the non-spiritual representation of the church. Like I know a lot of synagogues will have a board of directors, but they don't handle the spiritual things. That's for the rabbi.
Yeah, you might be right.
So do the Latents have any representation? Is there someone? So who's the head honcho among the Latents?
Lady McLaytonson.
No, it is a lady. Let's say that. So who is she?
A mother of 7.
And it doesn't have to be a real. It could be like a taker name. How about Karina?
Karina. Okay.
All right, I actually found it this time. It's Deacon.
Oh.
What?
Deacon. D-E-C-A-N. Or O-N.
Deacon Mordecai?
If we're going with biblical names, we got to go with Ruth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ruth.
Ruth.
I'm just going to say leader of the Latents. And who's the working class hero? Job.
William Wilson.
I said working class hero. That's not.
He's my hero.
Alex, he changed his Facebook picture to an overlay of the Twin Towers with the words "Never Forget" in red, white, and blue. He's a hero.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How about Jesus? No. This website I'm on, start playing a video. Okay. Joshua?
Sure.
I like it.
All right. And Joshua,
He fought the Battle of Jericho.
those walls came tumbling
down.
Okay. So we can add more people as we need. So one more person I want to ask you guys about. Who do people go to when they want to get like illicit things? People want drugs or alcohol? Because I assume those would be banned. So who do you go to get that?
The Dimmer Dammer.
You could call him the Dimmer Dammer. We might want to go with a biblical name if we're going to keep with our theme.
Lucifer?
Lucy.
How about Jezebel?
Yeah.
Jezebel. Okay.
Or do we want to go with Lucy for Lucifer?
I like Jezebel.
Maybe they're sisters.
Yeah.
Or Lilith?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but Lilith, was Lilith all about like...
Oh, how about Eve?
Ooh.
I like that. Eve.
Evelyn? They would just call Eve?
Supplier of illicit goods. Drugs, alcohol, pornography, etc.
I thought you said rugs for a minute.
Illicit
Yo,
rugs.
I got some rugs if you want.
Rugs.
Yeah.
All right, so now this is the big question.
An Oriental rug.
What is the name of our enclave? So now we have this all set up. There usually plays off of the location. So maybe something playing off Bountiful or the Tabernacle or the Mormons or something else biblical.
Salty Steelers.
You say the Salt Lake Steelers?
I said the Salty Steelers, but all right, that works too.
I mean, maybe Jericho. I'm looking up biblical places.
Gomorrah?
No, that would not fly.
Yeah, I don't think we would want to name ourselves after a city that was destroyed by God's wrath.
Well, I don't know.
It was destroyed by God's wrath.
That might actually work.
Maybe. Gomorrah.
What if we go a little more obscure and call it Nineveh?
Nineveh?
Nineveh. It's a city in Iraq that was destroyed and abandoned.
Okay. I'm thinking, I like the idea of like Gomorrah. I have a feeling that the latent tent is called Gomorrah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, do we want to go with Nineveh? That is definitely obscure. I mean, we could just call it like Tabor, or I mean, we could say you can call it Bounty, like Bounti.
I mean, Bounty is the name of the Mormon city.
Bountiful.
Bountiful, yeah. That's
Right.
what I meant.
Well, I'm saying like the sign outside got damaged, so it just says Bounti. If we wanted to say something like that, or we can call it something completely different.
We could go with I like the idea of the sign being busted and it just spoken to Bounty. Like the city of Novak.
No vacancies. That's what it really said.
That was the point of our comment.
So Bounty.
Bounty.
I'm okay with Bounty.
Yeah, works for me.
Bounti.
William left the call.
And you work for Bounty, which is your currency, so it works in two ways. I mean, it's not.
William joined the call.
It's not set in stone until we play the first game, so we could, if anyone thinks of something else, we can change it.
I think it's
Sounds good to
interesting
me.
that he keeps dropping in and out of the call, even though him, Chris, and ACOS are all on the same network.
Yeah.
Myers muted.
All right, so I think we've got everything we need. We've got our name, our location, the defenses you have, the history of the place, your exports and imports, neighboring enclaves, your social structure, the neighborhoods inside, and the important people in your enclave. So,
Right.
yeah, I think we're good. So I'll put all this together into something usable, and yeah. So anything else you guys want to throw in before we finish? Anything you want to add to ideas?
I'm going to throw you into a pit.
I'm going to throw you into a vat of boiling acid.
I'm going to throw you both into a pit of boiling acid.
Damn. Ryan got us beat.
Ryan wins. Game over.
Let's throw you guys into a vat of pits.
Ooh.
Are they going to be peach pits?
Yes, they are.
Peach pit boiled in acid.
That's right.
Sounds like something Will would drink.
Okay, I'm guessing that the answer is no. No one has anything else to add.
Yeah, no, not really.
All right, so that's that. If anyone's listening, which I don't think they are,
No.
thank you. Someone was listening before. We did have a listener at some point.
Yay.
And then they
Oh
heard
no,
we were-
James Burns. Okay, well, James, thank you.
We love you, James.
I wasn't looking at the chat. So James says that elder is correct for Mormon priests. So it is Elder Mordecai.
And I think they're missionaries.
Every member of the Mormon Church becomes a deacon at the age of 12.
Oh, well, good for them. He also suggested Judas and Enoch. I don't know what those are in reference to, but we'll keep them in the back burner.
Yep, we have some extra biblical names now.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you guys.
Right.
So that's the area that, or the city, or the enclave, God, that you guys are going to be inhabiting, and that's the area you're going to be living in. So, just keep that in the back of your mind when we're making our characters, and I think we'll be good.
Sweet.
All right. So before you guys all leave, I'm going to stop the broadcast. So thanks for listening. This is going to go to our patrons. So enjoy it. All right. Talk to you guys later.